again. Welcome back to Eclipse and Java for Total Beginners. In this lesson, we're going to test the checkout and check-in methods for the MyLibrary class and get started on the other methods. Now, in the previous lesson, we wrote test checkout, checkout, and check-in methods. So now we're ready to run our tests. So first, we'll open up the MyLibrary test class and run the test. So we'll go run as JUnit test. Whoa! Errors exist in the required projects. I don't think we want to launch if we've got compile errors. And if we look here and here, we see that we've got compiler errors. So what happened? If we look at the code, we see we've got a compiler error on our declaration of the test checkout method. And it says syntax error on tokens, misplaced constructs. Now we can try quick fix, Control 1, but in this case it doesn't help us. If we look up here at this previous method, we can see the problem. There's no closing curly brace for the method up here, which is the test add book method. Now we can confirm this by using a couple tricks in Eclipse that help us with these curly braces. First of all, notice I'm clicked next to the curly brace there, and the matching curly brace has this little faint rectangle around it. So that's one way of seeing the matching curly brace. Another way to do it is to click next to one curly brace and do Control-Shift-P, and it moves you between the curly braces. So now this curly brace down here looks out of place. If we go there and do Control-Shift-P, we see, as we suspected, the matching curly braces for the test add book, the method above. So what we've done is we accidentally put our method inside the test add book method, and that's what's causing the problem. Now, this problem is extremely easy to fix once you know what it is. We just have to delete that curly brace, and we can do a little cleanup here. And then we just need to add the curly brace there. And now, if we save, it compiles. So let's try running it again. Run as JUnit test, and this time it succeeds. So now we're done with the checkout method. Or are we? Wait a second. We forgot something. In the person class, we have a field called maximum books. Now, if we recall, this field is supposed to limit how many books a person can check out at any given time. But we didn't include this in our test or in our checkout methods. So we've got a little bit more work to do. So we'll open up MyLibrary test. We'll go down and add some more lines to the test checkout method. Put in a comment, additional test for maximum books. Then we'll rerun the setup. And we're going to set maximum books to 1 for person P1 to make it easier to test. Now we're going to copy these lines to set up our lists. And then we're going to do our asserts. So the first assert is assert true. Put in a message. First book did not check out. So that's the error message if this fails. And then we're going to check out book B2 to person P1. And we'll hit an enter here so we can see it more easily. So now we'll add the second assert. This time it's assert false. And we're going to say second book should not have checked out. And then we're going to try to check out book B1 to person P1. To be safe, we're rerunning the setup method again so we're not dependent on what might have happened up above. And then to make life a little easier, we're running the set maximum books to 1, so we only have to check out 2 books to do the test. And then, of course, we copied these lines to redo the lists. And then the first statement, we're just checking out a book and making sure it works. And then the second statement is we're checking out a second book to person P1 and making sure it doesn't work. So let's go ahead and try running the test. Now we expect that it won't work because we haven't made the change. And it doesn't work. And on the fail, you see we get our message here. Second book should not have checked out. So that's the purpose of that message in the assert true or assert false method. So now we need to change the checkout method to compare the maximum books field for the person to the total number of books the person already has checked out. In order to do this, we're going to need to get a count of how many books are checked out to a given person. If you recall, one of the methods we are planning to write is the getBooksForPerson method. This method will return the list of books checked out by a particular person. Now, if we had that method done, we could easily get a count of books checked out to a person. We would just run the getBooksForPerson method, and that would give us a list of all the books, and then we could just get a count of the books on the list. So it makes sense to first do the getBooksForPerson method. As always, we'll start with the test method. So we'll minimize this, and we're going to go down and make sure we're in the right place below the curly brace. Then public void test get books for person. And we're going to run the setup. Now we need to add our 2 books and 2 people to the list again. And we could just copy and paste these 4 lines of code, but we actually already have these in 2 different places. It would be better to pull these out and create a little method to add the 2 books and 2 people to the list, and that way we can just call the method when we need to. Now we can use Eclipse to help us. We'll highlight these lines, then go Refactor, Extract Method. We'll call the method Add Items, hit OK, and what Eclipse has done is it's put Add Items in where we had highlighted it. It's also put in the Add Items method up here instead of the 4 lines. So it took the 4 lines out there, and it took the 4 lines here, and then it just created the method down here. So that was pretty easy. Now let's write the rest of our method. First we're going to use our new method, add items, to set up our lists. Then we'll do our first assert statement. Assert equals expected 0 actual ML get books for person P1 dot size. So we're basically just saying that the size should be 0, so there shouldn't be anything in the get books for person P1. Now we're going to check out book P1 to person P1, and then we're going to redo the assertion, but we're going to save it in an array list. So we're going to go array list book test books equals ML get books for person P1. This is just so we don't have to do that long ML get books for person each time. So now that's stored in test books. Now we're going to do assert equals, this time 1, and this time we'll just use testbooks.size. So again, we're just saying now there should be 1 in that list. And then we're also going to say assert equals 0 testbooks index of B1. Then we're going to check out a second book to P1. Then we're just going to make sure that we're going to copy this code to get the list again. Now testbooks is updated. And then we're going to copy these last two lines. And this time we're going to assert that the list should have 2 items in it, and that the index of B2 should be 1. So this code is very straightforward. The only thing to be aware of, again, we always start at 0, so we're saying that book B1 is going to be in position 0 of the list, and here that we're saying book B2, the second item in the list, is at index 1, because we start counting it at 0. So now we'll use Quick Fix to create the empty method, control 1, create method, and now we're ready to write the body of the method, which we'll do in the next lesson. So this is the end of lesson 13. I'm Mark Dexter saying so long for now.